Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? What is going on? I wanted to go over some things today that I've been thinking about and regarding the stone tools. I don't have just an interest in stone tools. I also have an interest in what were the stone tools used for, say 12,000 years ago, and what were they what were they using the stone tools on specifically? What kind of animals, what kind of plants, what were they using the stone tools for, right? But there's also, what were they eating? What were they living like? And what was life like back then? It's all very blurry to me. I could picture it, but there's no clear answers in what it was like. I've come to some of my own conclusions on reasons certain arrowheads or spear points were shaped certain ways, or how they were hafted, what they were hafted to, say bone or wood, how these weapons and tools were used, perhaps for even kind of deadfall traps with spear points on them would work. And a good example of that, of somebody using that technology, is Sean Woods did a mouse trap. So he used the Spanish windlass with a arrowhead or spear point tied onto this trap, and it very quickly killed the critter. So that got me thinking a little bit. Were these all projectile points? Probably not. A lot of them might have been even tied to like if you walk past a tree and there's a trigger for the tree to come flying out and have these projectile points or spear points on them or in them, like right directly into the tree branch, and then the tree branch swings and hits the animal. I've been wondering about that. I've also been wondering how many of these even smaller projectile points were actually knives, because from my experimentation, these smaller knives or medium-sized knives work way better than bigger knives. The bigger knives are nice to look at and all, but they're a little unwieldy. They don't feel as good as like a modern butcher's knife. If you're holding something the same size made out of stone, it just don't feel right. And if it don't feel right, it's probably not right. So I've been going through some different artifact books and certain things online, just looking through different artifacts, reading, looking at the measurements and the sizes, and to see if there's been any protein analysis. Protein analysis is, let's say 10,000 years ago, somebody threw a spear into a camel and then proceeded to kill a mouse with it, with the same point. That protein will soak into the stone, into little crevices in the stone, and then 12,000, 10,000, whatever years later, when they do a protein analysis on it, they'll be able to tell what animal that projectile point killed, or at blood and tissue on that point or knife. So I find that really interesting. Some of the other things that I wanted to get into was the modern points compared to prehistoric points, or not prehistoric, but points that were being used. Points that were being utilized. They look a lot different than the modern points. To me, it looks like a lot of the artifacts were made with indirect antler, and they didn't care so much about how pretty it looked, or if it was flaked equally, or even if the sides were even. They didn't really seem to care on, say, 90% of the artifacts that I have seen. And then you get into maybe late Paleo-Indian, And some of those points look very much so like how people make these modern points, with the extremely precise parallel flaking going up and down the whole piece. Very, very lance-like, very long. And I really don't know why they would have done that besides to show skill and status. Maybe it might have been, artwork. But I don't know that much is known about that culture at all. So that's one of the things that I try to figure when I'm looking at these points, is I'm looking at lost cultures. And I want to understand these cultures that have disappeared thousands of years ago. And the same thing, when I'm, like, if I go to an extremely historic site, like, say, Morrow Mountain, and you see the quarry debitage everywhere, like, you just see rhyolite everywhere. And it's like, how many people were up here quarrying? What were they using to quarry? And why did they leave all of these tools? All of these are tools. They all have little microflakes on them. They were all used to cut things or scrape things. And it's very curious. Like, maybe they stayed there for a week quarrying, and in the meantime, they were using the tools from there to make their tents from hides, or to make their clothes from hides, while they're occupying the location and quarrying. And that would make sense, but it's so much. It's so hard to comprehend how many people did this over 12,000 years. Over a period of 12,000 years, how many people were up there quarrying for their tools, to make their clothes, to go hunting, to whatever they needed that rock for. A lot of nappers, they make the points, but they never test them, or they make the tools and never test them. And I really do enjoy testing these materials, such as hide scrapers or drills or knives or flake knives, or whatever artifact that I could replicate. So in experimenting with all of this, and going to these creeks and rivers and collecting flint, and then trying to replicate the things found, is very very intense for me when I do it, when I'm there. It's just, I feel a strong connection to the past whenever I do it. And I often just try to imagine the scene. Like, if you think, in this spot, somebody was here 12,000 years ago, probably with their family. Maybe they just finished hunting a camel, because we had camels here 12,000 years ago. Maybe they finished hunting a camel and they were, cooking camel over the fire, and maybe the other two guys down there were fishing with spears. And I just really like to imagine it. I really like to picture it. And in doing that, I feel like I gain some insight into these locations. And as well as studying the landscape itself and being like, where would be the best place to camp? Probably right here, because this is where I would camp. And me being out in the wilderness as much as I am, I feel I have a better idea of where people might have camped, or where good hunting grounds are, especially if the game is still there. Like, that's a good giveaway of where people might have hunted. I love using the stone tools, but I also love thinking about the stone tools and thinking about these lost cultures. I go through, books like, there's one place in Pennsylvania called the Shawnee Mini Sink site. And whenever I'm in that area, I always stop by there. And last time I tried fishing a little bit, I didn't catch anything, but I am going to go back there. I love the area. I love the rivers all around there, and the Delaware River is right there. And it's just a really beautiful place. And there's not too many places like that. So I was not surprised to hear that there was a very ancient site there. And I think one of the paths forward on finding more of these extremely ancient sites is to think, where would I personally camp? Where would I personally fish? Where would I personally hunt? As long as the river hasn't changed its course, which a lot of these rivers do, they change course over time and they meander, and where the river is now is not where it was 12,000 years ago in some cases. In some cases, it's still exactly the same as it was 12,000 years ago. So anyway, I am going to actually be going through some of these books and just giving some insight. I'm not going to do that in this video, and I just want to see what you guys think about all of this, and I would really like your input on what you think about these stone tools and these ancient sites and these lost cultures. That is the most important to me, is the lost cultures and trying to understand the lost cultures. So anyway, I'll keep it short. That's I don't know, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 minute video maybe. And I'm going to splice in some stuff so you guys could see what I'm talking about. But I thought you would appreciate my thoughts on this, and I would appreciate your guys' thoughts on this. So if you could chime in the comments and tell me stories, tell me things that you have discovered yourself, tell me things that you think are important for this field of work, and just let me know what you overall think. And if you have any insight into these older sites or even the stone tools, just let me know, and I'd really appreciate your input. So I think I'm going to show you guys just some of what I know and some of what goes into these videos, and some of what goes into the research behind finding places that I find, and maybe that will help you guys find a lithic material that you could work and that you could experiment with yourself in your local area. So I will be getting into all of that, and maybe I'll bring up some geology maps and show you where some stuff might be in the country, and you guys can go creek crawling and look for these rocks, jasper, agate, flint, chert, and look for it all yourself, which I think is the goal here. So, all right, guys, that's it for me. I'm done rambling. You guys have a good one, and I will see you soon. See you guys soon. See ya.